Hello to everyone. Good afternoon to you. It's if you are in the Caribbean or North America, or good evening. You are the parts of the world. Good morning or good night to you, wherever you are viewing this program from around the world. Move for Change Ministries live on air this evening one more time. And today we have a very interesting program lined up for each and every one of us. I pray that you will share with your friends and your neighbors. Just share with everybody this evening. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this ministry. Invite someone to this program this evening. The program this evening, it's on health, and it would promises to be very beneficial for each and every one of us. So I pray that you will just take some time and share with the world. I am your host, Baxter Lewis, and with me this evening we do have a special guest with me, Dr. Rhonda Cambridge Phillip, all the way from New York City. Doc, we welcome you to this live broadcast this evening. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm doing well, and thanks so much for having me. Good evening, everybody. I'm in New York, so it's evening here. So good evening. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm happy to know that you're doing fine also. How was your day? Pretty hectic?
My day wasn't too hectic today. It was busy, but also good.
Okay, good, great. And how are the kids doing?
The kids are doing well. They're off back to school, so everybody's adjusting to that.
Good, 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 good,
How
good,
that
good.
goes. I think
Well, nice having you once more on this program. Looking forward for your very informative information, I should say. And I just believe that you are loaded, I would say, with information this evening to share with us. We will be talking about Self Care Sunday. How is your sleep? Self Care Sunday. How is your sleep? Please take some time and share with someone. Doc, this evening, let's go right into the program. My first question for you: how much sleep do a person need? How much sleep do I need?
excellent question. So I'm assuming that we're talking about adults because kids will need much more. But on average, the average adult needs at least 7 hours of sleep.
Okay.
At least seven.
Okay. And what about if you don't manage to get 7 hours of sleep, like over a number of time? Would there be any ill effect or benefits or whatever?
Sleep is very important, and most of the time I find that us as adults we're not getting enough,
Mm-hmm.
and it begins to catch up with you. It
Okay.
really can begin to catch up with you, and you can be suffering from what's called sleep deprivation,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't always present as being tired. So of course, yes, that may be what most of us will think about. Okay, well, I must be getting enough sleep because even though I'm not getting the recommended 7 hours that you're saying, Dr. Rhonda, I'm getting 5 hours, I'm getting 6 hours, I'm getting 4 hours, and yet when I wake up, I still feel rested. So isn't that okay? That's a common question I get. And I say, and I answer that by saying, you don't want to always look to the fact that you're not tired as the number one signal that you're getting sleep. And so some signs of sleep deprivation could be changes in your memory. So if you're having memory problems, you're having concentration problems, you feel like things are just not as clear as they used to be. One of the things, there are many things you need to look at, but one of the things you should definitely look at is your sleep pattern. Are you getting enough hours of sleep, uninterrupted sleep? Do you have problems falling asleep? Do you have problems staying asleep? So your memory can be affected if you don't get enough sleep. Weight gain. So if you found yourself gaining a lot of weight recently, could it be because you're not getting enough sleep? That's a sign of, it could be a sign of sleep deprivation. Also, but let's get some more serious conditions. So sleep deprivation, well, it can increase your heart rate. It can increase your blood pressure, leading to hypertension. And it can also increase your risk for things like heart disease, including a heart attack. It can increase your risk for stroke. It can also increase your risk for diabetes.
Okay.
And it can weaken your immune system. And especially as we continue to navigate a global pandemic, I know a lot of us are really concerned about making sure that our immune system is boosted.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to all the other things we pay attention to, how much you're eating, all the different nutrients, all the different herbs that we, have to ingest to keep our immune system strong, we should be thinking about our sleep.
Doc, the truth about it, sometimes you mentioned it before, and I just wanted to camp here for a while. The truth about it, sometimes I go to bed pretty late and get up in the morning like about 6 o'clock. I still feel pretty powerful. What is
Yeah,
happening on the inside? You mentioned what is happening on the inside that can affect you in long term.
right. So that's exactly what I was trying to say before. A lot of people tell me, especially when I say, listen, are you getting at least 7 hours of sleep each night? They're like, no, doc, I'm good. I'm good. I can
Mm-hmm.
get by with 4 hours of sleep. I only need 3 hours of sleep. I get my 3 hours of sleep and I wake up feeling refreshed. I'm ready to go. I'm
Mm-hmm.
motivated. So it gives us that false sense of security that you can get by on that little sleep. But no, it's not enough, and eventually it will catch up. Remember that the body is miraculous in the way that our creator made it, right? It's miraculous in that it tries to fight against a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Even before you have symptoms of something, things may be going on at the cellular microscopic level
Mm-hmm.
that you're not feeling, so you're not aware of,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So
Because your body is really trying to counteract all the negative things that are happening. And it's not until your body can no longer keep up
mm-hmm.
that you start feeling those symptoms. You start feeling tired. You start feeling weak. You start feeling irritable. You have memory problems. Your sex drive might be affected.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that the blood pressure is higher, like I mentioned before. The heart rate is higher. You start having headaches and you start having all the other problems. You
Mm-hmm.
don't feel that right away. So that's why I'm saying that even though you feel that you can get by with less than 7 hours of sleep, know that on the inside,
Something is happening.
even though you're not having any symptoms, things are happening. It's just that your body is trying to
How
counteract.
how long, how from a medical point of view, how long would it take for someone to really start feeling the effects of not having enough sleep?
Good question. And there's really no one answer because it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different from person to person. And you also have to think about the fact, are there comorbidities there? Are there other things going on besides the lack of sleep that could be contributing to the overall breakdown of the body? Where if you have those other comorbidities, you might feel the effects sooner than
Mm-hmm.
someone else who, you know, really doesn't have anything else going on that they know about. And the only thing is that they're lacking sleep.
So
It
so
might
doc,
take the person longer.
okay.
So it's really hard to say.
So doc, when someone walk into your office and say, listen, they're having 3 hours of sleep a night or 4 hours of sleep now, and you realize after doing all your testing and so on that something is going on with the person on the inside, What normally be your recommendation to that person?
So let me say, so in my day to day, when I'm working in the hospital, I need everyone to know that I actually work in the Department of Pediatrics and Adolescent
Mm-hmm.
Medicine. So when I'm in the hospital setting, most of my patients are that age group. But in my work in the community as a health and wellness coach, and in my private session with adults, this is a common question that I ask. Most people don't come in and say that they have problems sleeping. It's something that I ask. They may come in with
Mm-hmm.
another symptom, another sign, or they may just come in for a checkup. But it's one of the things that I ask in my review of systems, asking about certain symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask, well, how many hours of sleep do are you getting a night? And I'll say for our kids, because I know some people listening, you might have kids, you might be parents, or you might be grandparents, or just legal guardians of the child population. Sometimes in kids, sleep deprivation can present in different ways. You might notice that kids, they might be more irritable, they're more moody, they're anxious, they're depressed, and that might be the only sign
Mm-hmm.
that they might be suffering from lack of sleep. Of course, that can happen in adults as well, because I did forget to mention that mood changes and mood swings, mental health issues can also be a sign of sleep deprivation. But a lot of times, what I see, in my clinical work, my day to day working with kids, that's what I see. You might also start seeing that their grades start slipping,
Okay.
right? You might see that they might often complain of headache and belly pain, things of that nature. Vague symptoms, joint pains. They start complaining about as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, when I'm working with my adults in my private coaching practice, one of the things that I really see a lot, again, that weight gain and the blood pressure.
Okay.
And also, a lot of clients that I work with already have underlying issues. That's
Mm-hmm.
why they're coming to me, because they're kind of looking for more lifestyle changes to help them
Mm-hmm.
deal with a lot of the chronic issues like diabetes,
Mm-hmm. Would you?
like high blood pressure. So I see that a lot where my clients, my adult clients, are on medication. They're on medication for high blood pressure. They might be on medication for diabetes, on medication for high cholesterol, and they're doing everything else that they should be doing. They're watching their diet, they're drinking more water, they started exercising,
Mm-hmm.
but they still can't get the blood pressure under control. The cholesterol is not under control. The glucose is not under control. Their sugar levels then.
Okay.
And then I asked, well, how much sleep are you getting? And I get the same thing, a typical scenario like what you mentioned. Well, no, I could get by on 3, 4 hours of sleep. And then
Okay.
that leads to the whole sleep conversation. And then we start to talk about what's known as sleep hygiene, some
Mm-hmm.
steps to kind of improve just basic lifestyle changes, even before we get to any medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basic lifestyle changes that you could pay attention to improve your quality of sleep.
So, Doc, can you tell us your patient? Have you noticed that your patients, like, should I say, most of them have been making lifestyle changes when you were
It's really, that's one of the best parts of what I do. I love when my clients come to me, and my patients as well, and they are really trying.
Mm-hmm.
They're really making those lifestyle changes in all areas: the physical, the emotional and psychological, the spiritual. They are really taking charge of their health in a holistic way,
Okay.
all around. And that's what I love to see, because sometimes, unfortunately, we think of health
Mm-hmm.
just in the physical, right? We think about physical health, and we think of health as being just the absence of disease or the absence of symptoms of disease. But I like to use the definition of health. The World Health Organization, WHO,
Mm-hmm.
uses a more expanded definition of health that includes much more than the physical. So again, it takes into account context the emotional health, the spiritual health, the psychological health, social health as well, in addition to just the physical. And that's what I love. And in my capacity working with clients, coaching them, that's what we focus on a lot more.
Okay.
Other aspects of health besides the physical.
Okay. Doc, we'll take a short break. I just want to connect with those on the virtual space out there. I want to welcome all those who are on the program right now. People are viewing the program from all around the globe. We are happy that you are locked in, plugged in, and locked in to Move for Change Ministries. We have with us this evening Dr. Rhonda Cambridge Phillip, all the way from New York City, and we are talking about Self Care Sunday. How is your sleep? This is a personal question. How is your sleep? And stay locked in. Do not touch the dial. And you can still share with a friend, even though we program is ongoing. Let's go back to our regular programming right now. But there's a question in the chat box here for you.
Oh, I
From
love the chat. I
yeah.
love people are active in the chat. Yes, let's
Yeah. You have your water too. I have mine here too.
let's go. Remember, we have that contract going.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You take a drink.
That's right. That's right. There's a question here for you, Doc, from my wife. She said, "Does lack of sleep affects kids' ability to learn?"
Yes, 100% sure. That's one of the things that I mentioned before, where if I have a patient coming in or
Mm-hmm.
the parent brings them in and, they're just having problems with school,
Right.
right? The grades are starting to slip. You notice that certain subjects they're not doing well in previously when they were doing well. The kids start complaining that they don't like school anymore. They're not motivated to go to school. It's like a fight to get them out of the house for school. We have to pay attention to the sleep. And I know that even with my kids, I have to watch because we have a certain bedtime,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and they'll be, they'll get ready for bed. They have their routine, and then I'll like see from the hallway that a light is on, a
Right.
dim light. So I'm like, what is that? So I go out to check, and then they're on the electronics.
Mm-hmm.
They're sneaking the iPad or whatever, the Kindle, the tablet, whatever. Then they're looking at a show, playing a game, and that definitely will affect their quality of sleep. That's one of the things that I mentioned when we talk about sleep hygiene and giving some tips for better sleep. One of the things is to create a restful environment. You have to prepare for sleep, just like we prepare for everything else. You have to prepare your body for sleep. Sometimes we just think, okay, you just, take your shower, you brush your teeth, you put on your pajamas, and you just plop in the bed, shut off the light, and boom, fall off to sleep in 5 minutes. It doesn't happen that way usually for most of us. And one of the things that we have to pay attention to, in addition to making sure that you have that ideal space for sleep, the area is cool. Your room is cool, not too hot, not too cold. It's quiet, but you also want to get rid of all the electronics, particularly there's a specific light that these electronics and also the television emit. It's known as blue light, right? But it's a certain wavelength of light, and it definitely disrupts your sleep wake cycle.
Okay.
It affects your ability to fall asleep naturally and stay asleep and get to those deep levels of sleep where your body starts to restore itself.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of sleep is to rest the body, yes, but also there's so many intricate reactions
Right.
that are taking place when we're sleeping. The
Mm-hmm.
repairing of cells, the death of cells that can't be repaired. I mean, listen, the body is just so miraculous the way God
Mm-hmm.
made it. I marvel at it each and every time
Right.
I learn something new. And when I get this excitement as I'm talking about it, because as we're sleeping, it's a whole lot of
A whole lot is
clearing,
going on.
a whole lot. You think about you just cleaning your house, you're vacuuming, you're sweeping, you're wiping down the counters, you're folding the clothes, you're getting rid of clutter, you know. But now switch your brain to think about what's going on inside the body. It's the same deep cleaning that's going
Mm-hmm.
on, and it's happening during the phases of sleep.
Sleep.
So that's why it's so important. So, and our kids, they also grow when
Mm-hmm.
they sleep. So
Okay.
their growth might be affected, especially with the younger kids who
Mm-hmm.
haven't achieved puberty and, their full growth potential. It's so important for those younger kids to be getting the amount of sleep. So you'll you'll see a lot of different things with our kids, including the grade slipping and their
Mm-hmm.
ability to learn. And it's more than just, okay, they didn't sleep the night before, so now they're showing up to class and they're falling asleep. Even if they're awake in class, they're
Mm-hmm.
not literally falling asleep. The connections that
It's
are
not
supposed
there.
made for them to learn and conceptualize concepts and pick up the material in the amount of time that they have allotted is going to change. So one of the things that I always review is creating that restful environment
Mm-hmm.
for no electronics. Keep in mind that the bed, your bed, our bed, is meant to do two things. Two things. Two
What's that?
things.
What's that? I'm
Can
into
you guess? Who wants to guess?
sleeping,
Ben, of course.
sleeping,
And what else?
play.
What kind
I'm
of
just
play?
kidding with you. Sex.
Yes. Two things only. Sleeping
Mhm.
and sexual activity. That's
Mhm.
it. Nothing else should be happening in the bed.
So you're saying get rid of everything else, all the gadgets. I heard it said before, everything. That question for you: is there a special time where someone should go to bed?
No, that also depends on the person because it's going to depend on your schedule as well.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things, again, another tip is to create a schedule,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, in addition to creating that restful environment, the ideal space for sleeping, making sure your bed is comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't changed your mattress in 10 years, it's time for a new mattress. You have to make sure it's comfortable. You have
Right.
to make sure the room is not too hot, it's not too cold. Get rid of the electronics, right? Make sure the room is nice and dark and quiet as well. But in addition to that, another tip is to create a schedule and stick to it. So when I
Mm-hmm.
say creating a schedule, I'm meaning what I mean by that is to try to go to bed at around the same time
Okay.
and get up at the same time every day of the week, even the weekends. Now, most people, have time on the weekends, so they're not like getting up to go to work or school. So they tend to want to sleep in
Mm-hmm.
more on the weekends, but
Right.
that also can affect your sleep. So you, in general, in the long term of things, the long term scheme of
Okay.
things,
Okay.
want to try to pick your bedtime so it allows you to have that at least 7 hours of sleep. For kids, it's much more. They need closer to 9 to 10 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But for school age kids and everything, um, but you want to try to get that schedule in. So for adults to get that 7 hours of sleep, and you want to try to go to bed the same time and wake up the same
So,
time.
Doc, you talk about this question in the box for you. I'll be reading off that question shortly. You talk about it's important to be in a dark room when you're sleeping. So, what
Yeah,
about people who work in the night? They would come home in the morning like about 6 o'clock. Is
right,
the nighttime? Is there a difference between the nighttime and the daytime? Even though you try to make your environment dark in the day, is there a difference?
right. There is a difference, and so there are certain medical issues that people who are night shift workers, they have more increased risk than people who are actually working in the day and get the chance to sleep at night. But our hats off to those workers. I really remember those
Mm-hmm.
days. I don't work like that as much anymore, those very erratic shift, but I definitely remember those days. And those people make the world run, right?
Mm-hmm.
While the rest of us are sleeping, they're making sure everything is running, but there's also a risk to that because there's something called the circadian rhythm of the
Mm-hmm.
body. There's a natural time that's the body is supposed to naturally want to rest, and that's at nighttime. And those people that work nights, well, they're totally doing a 180 and
Mm-hmm.
switching, that normality there. So there is a difference for them. And so it's going to be even more important that they pay attention to the environment that they're creating to sleep. So they might have to change their drapes to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they're not the ones, especially in the bedroom or wherever they sleep, that it's not letting in the light as much. So they have to have those thicker drapes that kind of block out the sunlight, the
Okay.
daylight. So in order to get the sunlight, you'd have to actually raise the curtains or raise the blinds. It's not so easy for it to just to seep through if
Mm-hmm.
the blinds are closed or
Okay. Tiffany is asking a question here. And how can you take care of your mind and your body? Actually, I guess it's really she's talking relating to your sleeping son. You would be able to dissect that.
yeah. That's really important. So you have to definitely be taking care of it during the day
Mm-hmm.
and then set the stage for the evening time. So some things that are going to help to make sure that the mind and body are connected, especially during the day, to now make sure that you have having a restful sleep in the evening. Some things there that you want to pay attention to will include meditation. And meditation, there are many different forms of meditation, right? Prayer actually is a form of meditation. So it's not the only form of meditation, but it is a form of meditation. So that you may definitely want to add that as part of your routine during the day. Some form of meditation, including prayer. Yoga is a form of meditation because it involves using the breath and stretching. And incidentally, September is National Yoga Awareness Month.
Okay.
And I find that a lot of people in our culture, right, black, brown, and beige people from the Caribbean diaspora, like we are, right? We have not been able to tap in to the benefits of yoga in
Mm-hmm.
the way I would like to see it done.
Okay.
yoga is not something that I knew growing up. It's not something that I learned to practice from family members, like how I know how to practice my prayer meditation,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's something that, I feel like I was born with that. I don't know. But you just had that all around you. You know that the spiritual is very important and we have to cultivate that. But yoga is one of those things that it's not something that we tap into naturally. So I didn't learn about it and the benefits of it until I was much older. I even didn't learn about it in medical school.
Mm-hmm.
Only in my quest to become a certified health and wellness coach that I started learning more about all these different modalities, yoga being one, and all the benefits of it, the psychological benefits, the physical benefits. And so I just wanted to highlight that,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it's National Yoga Awareness Month, and that is a tool that we can use to connect the mind and the body in a way that you can really see the tangible effects of it, the relaxation, the mental health benefits, the lowering of the blood pressure and heart rate, and yes, improve sleep.
Okay.
That's one of the things we should be tapping into, but also exercise in general. Exercise will help promote healthy sleep. And when you exercise during the day on a regular basis, a minimum, I'm saying a minimum of 30 minutes of some kind of structured physical
Mm-hmm.
activity 7 days a week, you'll see that your sleep will start to improve. The caveat
Okay.
to that is, the exception to that is not to exercise late in the day close to your bedtime, because that will actually do the opposite of what we want to do.
Okay. Okay.
It will keep you up, then it's
Mm-hmm.
going to prevent restful sleep. So you want to exercise, but you want to do it, not late in the day close to
Okay,
bedside.
Doc, there's a question I want to flip this question. The first question, I want to flip it around. Can someone have too much sleep or get too much sleep?
Yeah, no. So and that has its drawbacks as well. And you notice when someone is sleeping too much, so they're sleeping way more than that, 7 hours, and the average, when I say 7 hours, that's the minimum. The average is 7 to 9 hours of sleep for adults. So if you see an adult sleeping 10, 11, 12 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on a consistent basis, we have to start looking at the reasons why that might be happening. That's called hypersomnia. You have insomnia, which is lack of sleep or not getting enough sleep. And then you have hypersomnia, which also is an issue, and it could be a signal of a lot of other health issues,
Mm-hmm.
mental health issues, depression. For example, anxiety can present that way. So it can present, mental health issues can present with insomnia or hypersomnia as well. So it can go both
Both
both.
ways, both ways. Sandra is saying in the chat box here, I was trying to avoid going into it, but because in the chat box, I would still read it off. It's not a question. She's saying yoga exercises are great, but as a whole, we do not believe in its philosophy. As well, she's talking about like Seventh Day Adventists. We do not believe. She's getting a little personal here. We believe,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you can, in exercise for the benefits of exercise, but like for high meditation and believing that you can move and all this kind of thing, we do not. But just for the benefit of
It's a
exercise,
form of exercise.
yeah,
Yes.
for the benefit of exercise, yeah,
Yeah. So as a form of
yeah.
exercise, yoga involves breathing and stretching. So that's how I look at it. Now, I'm not a yogi. right? That's this is what they call the expert people that practice yoga. I'm not a yogi, but I'm also not Seventh-day Adventist. So if
Mm-hmm.
anything that's counterintuitive to your faith,
Mm-hmm.
that would be something. If it's
Yes.
counterintuitive with your faith, then you know, that's not something you should be involved in. But the
Mm-hmm.
way I look at yoga,
Yes. Yeah. I got
it's
you.
just another form of exercise. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if it's counterintuitive to your faith, we never want to one. I never want to, encourage someone to be involved in something that you feel deep down to your core is against your core beliefs, because actually that's going to have the effect that we're not looking for. It's going to cause more stress and
Mm-hmm.
more anxiety, and we're just going to be at odds with one another. And that's important to mention because this happens a lot when I'm working with my clients, and that's why it's important to let your clients lead you. And this is something, and your patients lead you. This is something that we as physicians, it's very important to understand that we are working together with our patient. We should never be at odds, and we want to work with people where they are within their belief system.
Okay. Okay.
So that's a great example, and that has happened to me, um, quite a bit. And when it shows up like this, like it just did, we work
You walk
through it,
around the person.
work around it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I look at it is it's a form of exercise,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it involves the breathing and the stretching, which has so many benefits. But then if someone doesn't want to practice yoga, then there's so many other things
That
that
they
are,
can do.
yeah, that
Yeah.
you can do.
Doc,
Thanks
let's
for that. Thanks for that.
yeah, Doc. I want to welcome Lintegrate Powder to the program tonight, and Tiffany Lois, the Rosa Kennedy, and all the others on the back end. We are not seeing the names. We are talking tonight about Self Care Sunday. How is your sleep? Many people, the sleep have been affected because of some reason or the other. Am I correct, Doc? Because of some reason or the other, people have been deprived of sleep, maybe woke or a baby. Oh, doc, yes, let's talk a little bit about moms, newborn moms, new having a new baby. What is your experience with that in helping moms, like having enough sleep, having a new baby?
Yeah. I think that's so important, and I think one that's why it's important to have help, have a very strong support system. As they say, and I believe it takes a village to
To
raise
raise
a
a
child,
child.
and it starts from the time that the baby is in the womb, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The baby is growing and developing. We as moms need other people in our life to support us so that we can make sure that our tank is filled emotionally, physically. That's the only way we can give, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to sleep and being a new mom, that's where we have to lean on our support system. We have to lean on, the fathers. We have to lean on the grandparents. We have to lean on the aunties and the neighbors and the friends to give us that respite. So even if I have mothers who might be breastfeeding, not everybody breastfeeds, but the mothers who are able to breastfeed because we know it's healthier for the baby, just to allow mom to get sleep. It's okay to express the breast milk, put it in a bottle, and have
Mm-hmm.
that support person feed the baby, take a shift here and there. That's going to be important, and that's important during the day as well. So one of the other things that brings me to one of the other steps, one of the other tips for promoting healthy sleep is daytime naps could be
Okay.
useful. You don't want to overdo it because it can be counter effective, right? If you're sleep, if you're not getting enough sleep at night and you're trying to make all of that up during the day, you end up playing this cat and mouse game.
Mm-hmm.
You never really catch up because if you take too many long naps during the day, or it's actually too close to your bedtime, then that's going to have a counter effect as well. So if you want to take naps in the day, you do what's called like power naps, 10
10,
15 minutes
15 minutes.
each
Okay.
time, and you don't want to go more than 30 to 45 minutes total. That 45 minutes is pushing it. You definitely don't want to go more than that, for the amount of naps or
Mm-hmm.
the amount of time you nap during the day. And then you don't want to take those naps too close to your bedtime
Okay.
because then it'll have,
Affect your sleep.
yeah, it'll affect your sleep.
Okay, Doc, I have another question, but let's take a short break. Let me connect with those out there, those who have just joined the program. And Sebastian and Carolyn Hackett, we welcome you to the broadcast. And Pastor Johnny Castor, we welcome you tonight. We are talking about Self Care Sunday. How is your sleep? How is your sleep? This is personal, and Dr. Rhonda Cambridge is here with us all the way from New York City, dissecting and helping us in regards to this matter. How is your sleep, Doc? For like a new mom, what's your advice? There might be a mother on the program right now, or some lady who would be having a baby soon or thinking about getting pregnant soon. How late in the night should a mother really breastfeed a baby in regards to, in contrast to their sleep?
So again, that goes based on the schedule,
Mm-hmm.
general schedule that the mom has set for herself. So if it's a young baby, and then the baby has their schedule, right? So once we get into the schedule and we know the times when the baby wakes up, then we have to work around that. But we're also working within the mother's schedule that she has set for herself. So say she wants to go to bed at 11 in general, and then she wants to get up maybe 6 o'clock. Is that 7 hours? 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 6 a.m. That may be the time that she needs. But then we also have to fit that into when the baby is going to be fed.
Okay.
And then we have the support person that needs to come in and step in and do a couple of those feedings with the express breast milk.
Okay.
And then during the day, and if that's not possible because it depends on the support system the mom has, and she definitely has to feed the baby, obviously, then during the day, that's when those naps would come into play. And same thing for the support person as well. That's why there's maternity leave and there's paternity leave as well,
Okay.
right? So because we know that support system has to be there.
Okay, Doc. There's a question here for you. You would love this one. Hey, I know you smile every time the questions come up in the chat box.
Yes.
All this one is coming all the way from Tobago. When I was from DeRosa Kennedy, I should say, when I was actually doing studies, I would get up at 1 for 3 hours to study, 1 to 3 hours to study. Now I have finished. I still get up for the 3 hours. Should this be a cause of concern?
Should it be a concern? Well, yes, because basically that's happening because you've trained yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, you can still hear me,
Yeah, I am
correct?
hearing you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because my feed, something's happening with my feed over here, at least the picture, I'm not sure. But once you can hear me, that's fine. So what happened with that is that you basically trained your body to get up at that time. And so now we just have to reverse that. So what I
Mm-hmm.
would do, so the caller or the person watching said that she would get up at 1 a.m.
Yeah, she would still get up. She would,
Get from
yeah,
1 a.m. to 3 a.m.
for a
because
three
that's
hours period. Mm-hmm.
right. Now, when the question I have is when does she go to sleep? I'm not sure if she'll be able to answer that in real time. But in general, what you would want to do is try to push that time back by 30 minutes to 1 hour each time. And eventually, over time, what we want to do is cover those 2 hours, because that's 2 hours, right? 1 to 2, right? We want to be able to cover those 2 hours of uninterrupted sleep, but that's not going to happen right away because you've trained your body to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is if you normally would naturally get up at 1 a.m., okay, so you get up at the 1 a.m. and you just try to go back to sleep. If you cannot fall asleep, if it's been 20 minutes at
Mm-hmm.
most, that's the cutoff. If it's been 20 minutes and you still can't go back to sleep, then you're going to have to get up, do something, maybe do a light reading for 20 minutes, and then try to go back to sleep. And you just do that each time. And what you're trying to do is try to push the amount of time that you're awake.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, you'll be getting up at 1, but then eventually you'll push it to 1:30, and then you'll push it to 2, and then So by the time we're done with that, over time, you'll be able to take into account those 2 hours, and you'll actually be
So
sleeping.
if I understand what you're saying, according to the question from the Rosa, while she was studying, she would get up between 1 to 3 hours, and study. Now the same thing is happening. She's saying 10 years ago. So if you find yourself from 10 years ago to now doing the same thing.
So, yeah. So what I would do now, we have to go back. So then we have to talk about when is it time to seek medical care. So what I would do first, because this 10 years is a long time, but what I would do is take inventory of the other lifestyle habits.
Mm-hmm.
Did you set a schedule for yourself? Right? We talked about that. Are you creating, or do you have that restful environment for sleep? Are you getting rid of the electronics? Is it a cool, dark, quiet place? Are you avoiding large meals before sleep, avoiding caffeine, alcohol, nicotine before sleep? Are you exercising during the day in general? And are you limiting the naps to no more than 45 minutes throughout the day and not late in the evening? And so, if all of those are taken into account, and then we start to try to move the hours back, right? The amount of time that you're up. So, if you get up at 1, you do a little activity and try to go back to sleep. And if that is not working, in order for you to be able to cover those 2 hours, well, now we have to think, okay, maybe I need to see my physician about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need to be checked for, just do a routine checkup, do my routine blood work to see if there are any issues there, check my blood pressure, check my heart rate, and then routine blood work, check my glucose level, check my cholesterol, just do routine labs, right? And if that is all normal, your routine physical is normal, then it might be time to see a sleep specialist. And I know she's in Tobago, so I'm not sure if she will have access to sleep specialists. She definitely will have access to general practitioners,
Practitioner.
that nature, and they might be able to give you a referral to a sleep specialist. The other thing that's useful, there are we can get into the topic of melatonin, which is a natural hormone that's produced by the brain that promotes healthy sleep. It's normally produced by our body. But if we have certain health issues, if we're stressed out a lot, the way that our body produces that melatonin could be dysfunctional. Or maybe we're not producing enough. And melatonin is a natural supplement that you can get a prescription for a small dose. It starts at 5 milligrams, but your doctor can prescribe it. It's not like Ambien or anything like that. This is actually more natural, and see if that helps, because it could be that maybe you just need a little bump up of that melatonin hormone to help promote sleep.
Okay, Doc, we are coming to the closing moments of this broadcast, but before I ask my final question, there's a question I just want to squeeze in. No, not yet. Not we. The other one would be long, but before we go there, I want to squeeze this in. What is sleep apnea, and what causes it?
So sleep apnea is the issue where when you're sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
what happens often is the tongue falls back. This is especially the tongue falls back and it begins to obstruct the airway, and then you're like catching for moments of breath. Right? Those are the periods of apnea.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually is a significant medical condition, and it definitely affects your sleep, but it also can affect your heart, your lungs, your brain as well. So, and the way that it presents normally is someone that snores really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a little snore here and there, but like it's really bad.
A lot of noise.
If you're a lot of noise, and
Mm.
you know, if you have a significant other and that person is snoring and you have to go into another room sometimes because it's really that bad,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the signs and symptoms of that. And then also the other sign is when they wake up during the day, they're really sleeping a lot during the day, and they fall asleep at the drop of a hat.
How can that be controlled?
They could be sitting down and just, you know, I don't know, they're in the doctor's office waiting to be seen, and they sit down for five
Gone.
minutes and they're sleeping already,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so that is diagnosed by a medical physician. So first you'll go to your regular physician with these kind of complaints. They'll do your routine physical, they'll do routine labs, and then they will refer you to get a sleep test,
Mm-hmm.
where you'll go to an environment, a sleep lab, where you spend the night there, and we watch you sleep, and we monitor things like your heart rate, your oxygen level, your blood pressure, and we look for the periods of apnea where like the air is cut off. That's what we look for, and we look for how many times that happens over a period of time, and we come up with a score to determine if you have sleep apnea, and if how severe it is. And then, of course, we go through sleep hygiene, all of the things that I mentioned, some of those tips, but also if the issue is really severe and someone has been diagnosed with sleep apnea, then there's actually a machine that this person will wear at night. It's a mask, and it's a special oxygen machine that's hooked up to, another machine. And what it does is it helps to keep the airway open
Mm-hmm.
so the oxygen can flow back and forth correctly, and it will help to take care of the snoring, and it will help to decrease those periods of
So,
apnea.
so are you saying that this person have to live with this unless God works a miracle? This person have to live with this for a lifetime, or
Oh, no, not true. So if the sleep apnea is severe, moderate to severe, that's where the machine comes in.
Mhm.
But if not, and even if they have to use that machine, what we'll focus on, that's a temporary measure, or should be viewed as a temporary measure,
Mhm.
where now you focus on the other lifestyle habits. Another symptom of sleep apnea, well, not a symptom, but an association is being overweight. Not that everyone that has sleep apnea is overweight, but there's more of a higher association with people who are carrying around some extra pounds.
Mhm.
So a big part of dealing with the sleep apnea in the long term is weight management to lose weight. So
Mhm.
in the acute phase, we want to keep that airway open so we don't have problems with the heart and the lung and even the brain as well. And you're not like, falling asleep during the day in times where you need to be awake.
Mhm.
Case in point, some people might be driving and you stop at a red light, and if they have sleep
Yeah, and
apnea,
triple sleep
they're
right
falling
there.
asleep, and that could be really
Mhm.
dangerous. So you
Yeah.
need the machine as an acute measure to take care of the problem at that time, but then you'll be focusing in the long term on those lifestyle habits to help deal with the sleep
Doc, you
apnea.
just raised two questions in my mind there. The first one is this. Sometimes you're driving on the road, right? And I've experienced it before, and I've heard other people talk about it, and you just start feeling sleepy. You start feeling sleepy, and something might just happen. You nearly hit a car, and right away, like all the sleep just disappear from you. Can you explain what's going on there?
Well, that's where the endorphins come into play,
Hmm.
adrenaline and things of that sort. And that keeps you awake,
Okay.
right? There's certain hormones that your body produces, you know, that will keep you awake. So that's what's happening at that time. But let's backtrack a little. So if that's happening,
Hmm.
if you're driving at the wheel and you falling asleep as you're driving, or you're at the light, you're falling asleep, and the other cars are honking at you, that is a sign of sleep deprivation. Because remember, we talked about the fact that the most obvious sign is you feeling tired. But then we also talked about the other signs and symptoms that are not so obvious, that we don't really make the connection between sleep deprivation and a lot of those signs and symptoms and chronic diseases as well. So you said it happened to you before.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe that was a time where the night before, the few nights before, few weeks before, where you were sleep deprived. So you mentioned that when you woke up, you felt revived and you're ready to go through your day. But then maybe throughout the day, that's where you started feeling tired.
hmm,
That may have been one of the instances of your tiredness because of the 3 to 4 hours of sleep or whatever was going on at the time. So that case in point is actually very important as a physician listening to what a client or a patient is saying, and maybe you didn't make the connection there,
okay.
I'm starting to make that connection as well. So, because I have that a lot, where someone will say, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm feeling good, and I'm
Hmm.
throughout the day." But then as the conversation goes on, then we get little nuggets here and there of little things happening that might signal an issue.
Doc, I just want to take a break to connect with those out there. I want to welcome Glenda Alling all the way from Tobago. We want to welcome Nero. We welcome you to this program tonight. Wanda Antoine, we welcome you. Michelle Joseph, Basila also, we welcome you to this live broadcast. We are talking tonight about Self-Care Sunday. How is your sleep? And Dr. Rhonda Cambridge is here from New York City, walking us through and helping us to have better sleep, I should say, as we go along life's journey. Let us come back to our normal programming. Doc, sometimes you're doing something and your body's tired. And right there, you start feeling sleepy. As though you're falling asleep on duty.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, it depends. That has many different, first of all, that can have a lot of different consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So let me backtrack. So are you saying that what kind of activities? So is it like you're at work,
At work.
responsible for something else, or responsible for really taking care of some task or something? So number one, that can be an issue because it can harm yourself, it can harm someone else, number one, but it can also present a problem with your supervisors, your boss, what have you, and we don't want that to happen. We want you to be engaged, have the energy level to really function and do your job, and just be functional. And so one of the things, again, it brings me back to looking at the other areas in your life where we have to examine closely and see if we need to change anything there.
Right.
One of the other things that I didn't get to mention was stress. So we talked about sticking to a schedule, making the schedule and sticking to it. We talked about paying attention to your diet, and not eating large meals before
Bedtime.
bedtime, and avoiding the intake of alcohol and caffeine, nicotine, or stimulants.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol is not a stimulant. It could actually put you to sleep initially, but the problem with alcohol is that in those later stages of sleep, it can start to affect that. So that's why alcohol is on the list. We talked about setting the restful environment and making sure that the room where you sleep is conducive to promoting sleep. We talked about daytime naps, but also limiting to a certain amount of time and not right before bed. We talked about exercise and physical activity, the importance of doing that throughout the day. But one thing that we didn't talk about was stress and the effect that stress has on sleep. Because when you're under stress, the adrenal glands, so the adrenal glands, we have two of them, and they're two organs that sit right on top of the kidney, and their job is to produce stress hormones. For example, cortisol, for example, that's a stress hormone. And what stress hormones do is they help your body promote the fight or flight response. And so if we're chronically under stress in and of itself is not a bad thing, It's
Right.
only bad if it's chronic, because those hormones are meant to be released, for just a few minutes at a time. You take care of what you need to take care of, like your body takes care of what it needs to take care of. If it needs to hang around and fight, defend yourself from something, or if you need to run, the stress hormones raise your blood pressure, raise your blood sugar, and things of that nature. Um, but if those hormones are consistently being pumped out of the adrenals, that is going to affect the sleep wake cycle. And so we also have to make sure that we have a specific way of managing um, our stress. And it's going to be different for each person how you manage your stress. First, we have to acknowledge that we might be in a stressful environment, and then we have to take steps to manage it. So that's a big part of making sure that we are promoting healthy sleep, is making sure that we're not stressed throughout the day, and do you might want to do something at night to help relax you or calm you down. And that's why they say it's not good to go to bed angry, right? Because that's stressful.
Okay.
Want to resolve all those issues
What?
before bedtime.
Besides spiritually speaking, going to bed angry, the Bible said, "Do not let the sun set on your wrath." Going to bed angry. What health? What health? How much can it affect your health?
Right. So again, anger is pretty much a negative emotion, and when you are angry, your mind is not relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is not relaxed. And so if you're not relaxed, how can you possibly sleep? And then it's like a cycle. So you're not sleeping, and then that leads to sleep deprivation, and then all of the different things that can arise from being deprived of sleep.
Okay.
That's how I would explain it in a simplified nutshell way.
Doc, I have another question here for you. This one is pretty interesting. How can sleep position affect your health? I can put a handle onto that one also. How can
Yes.
sleep position affect your health?
So when you say you can put a handle on that, do you have some experience with that?
Well, spooning. You sleep with your wife and you hug, and sleep. Does it give does there any benefit in spooning? Hugging and sleeping and so on.
Okay. So yes, because when you spoon, for all of the couples out there, and you know, it's a beautiful thing because your body will release a hormone that's called oxytocin. It's produced by the brain. Most of the time we think of oxytocin as the hormone that brings on labor. Like when a woman is pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
what causes the labor to start is the increase of oxytocin. Also, if a woman is having issues with going into labor naturally, and the labor has to be induced, we induce that by giving oxytocin. But oxytocin also is responsible for the letdown of breast milk as well. But also, oxytocin is produced by the brain of men and women, and it's also known as the love hormone. And it increases when you hug. So spooning is a form of hugging, right? That's how I would say it.
Okay.
It's a form of hugging. So it's very conducive to sleep
So you would
as well.
so you would encourage the married couples to do a lot of spooning.
Yes, yes, because that oxytocin has the negative have has the counter effect of the stress hormone. So I
Okay.
talked about the stress hormone before, specifically cortisol. So the oxytocin um, has the opposite effect of cortisol. It's
Okay.
a relaxing um, it's yeah, it's a relaxing hormone.
Okay, Doc. So go ahead.
Oxytocin is also one last thing.
Go ahead.
Oxytocin is also released. That's why it's called the love hormone as well, because it's also released during orgasm as well. So I'll stop there.
Okay, so let's
So
come back. So let's come back to the original question. Oh, you have your water. Let me take a drink with you.
mm-hmm.
That's good. Let's come back to the original question now. How your sleep position, the way how you sleep, whether in the back or your belly. Okay, this
Yeah,
is anybody now, a single person, anybody. Your back, your belly, wherever. How can it affect your health?
right. So often I would chalk this up to saying it's a personal decision and it's based on your comfort level. That should be number one. So
Mm-hmm.
if you feel comfortable sleeping in a certain position and that is most comfortable for you and allows you to get the amount of sleep that you need and is uninterrupted, then I would say let that drive you more than anything else. So instead of me saying, you should never sleep on your back or never sleep on your side or never sleep on your stomach, I think you should let your body lead you in that regard. But one of the things that I came across in my research over the years is that people who sleep on their back, sometimes if they have like back issues,
Mm-hmm.
that can tend to worsen those symptoms. And there have been some anecdotal research that talks about the idea of sleeping on your right side and the fact that that could potentially compress some vasculature, but nothing has been really proven in that regard. So that's why I'm saying that let your comfort level drive you. So what kind of sleeper are you? Are you a side sleeper, a back sleeper? What would you say?
Doc,
Do you even
I
know?
am a spoon sleeper. I'm a back sleeper.
That's
I'm a
right.
belly sleeper. I sleep. I sleep in
You
all
sleep
different. Honestly, I sleep where the comfort zone. I sleep where I have the comfort. If I'm comfortable in certain position, I would stay there. And but I heard what you talk about the sleeping on a certain side, your left or your right side. I think I was
yeah,
reading something. I cannot remember everything about it, so you can go on that.
right. So I'm cautious to mention it because again, I haven't read any studies on it. And
Mm-hmm.
anything that I'm going to talk about,
You
I
have your
like to
research.
have science behind it. So these are just kind of anecdotal things that I just mentioned just to mention. But what I would say, and it sounds like you experienced that as well, is that let your comfort drive you.
Yes.
I would say that because it might be just counterintuitive. Oh, I shouldn't sleep. Doctor said I shouldn't sleep on my left side, so let me try to, and you're trying to force yourself to sleep on the right side,
Mm-hmm.
but you end up going back on the same left side, and then that's producing anxiety and stress, and it's just all counterintuitive,
Mm-hmm.
right? It begins to defeat the purpose. So that's why I'm saying let your comfort level drive you in that regard.
Well, for now, Doc, I think spooning should be a great, great way of sleeping. For my
Yes,
purpose because
yes,
it does much to your health.
yes. We talked a lot about that release of the oxytocin. So, yes, yes, there's a lot of health benefits to spooning. So, yes, that is a recommendation I can make.
Mm-hmm. That's
All
for.
the married couples out there, yes.
I see Donna, your cousin Donna Mae Lewis is working and she watching right now. She came on the right time to hear that one.
One just in time for the spooning part.
That's right. I think you should go over that thing because I don't know if she heard it before. I just
Funny. Oh, I love it. We have so much fun here. This is what we do.
Doc, I really enjoyed the program with you this evening, and I'm sure that this program was beneficial for the viewers out there and those who will be viewing in the future. Let us take a short break right now, and folks, we are so happy that you've locked into Move for Change this evening. This program is quite interesting, and I ask that you share this program with everybody. This is really important. Sleeping without a good sleep, our health, we can be deprived of good health. So it's important that we have good sleep. And Dr. Rhonda is here with us this evening to just break it down. How should go around this? Let me go back to a live program. And Doc, tell me something.
Yes.
For over the years, what's the most complaint that you've received as in your office in regards to sleeping?
Let me think about that. The most common complaints.
Mm-hmm.
It would be twofold. A lot of my clients, they complain about just having problems sleeping. But then when you define that a little bit more, they have problems falling asleep. That's the most, because you can have problems falling asleep and then you can have problems staying asleep.
Why you have problems falling asleep? What happened? Why? One would have
They
problems.
they just can't get to sleep. And I believe that the big part of that goes back to all that we've been talking about in this session. Preparing your body for sleep. Again, sometimes we just think it's just you take a shower, you put on your pajamas, and you just jump in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to prepare our body for sleep. And that preparation, believe it or not, that preparation starts from the morning and all throughout the day and all throughout the time when we actually go to sleep. So that's why it's important to take inventory and pay attention to all the things that we do throughout the day, how we're eating, how we're drinking. It's important to, again, set that schedule. So you're listening right now and you're having problems falling asleep, or you're having problems staying asleep. I want you to think about, what are you doing throughout the day? I want you to think about your stress level. I want you to think about, are you exercising throughout the day? I want you to ask yourself if you have a schedule. Do you have a baseline allotted time where you say, okay, I'm going to try to go to bed at 11 o'clock each night? Or I just gave that number, not that this is what everybody has to do. And are you trying to do that most days of the week? And then think about your bedroom. Is it conducive to sleeping? And are you doing other things in that bed besides sleeping and having sex? Because those are the only two things that you should be doing in the bed. And then we talked about the sleeping position. So like I said, let your comfort level drive you. I talked a little bit about those anecdotal they were very small studies, not large studies, to talk about the benefits of sleeping on the right side versus the left side, and the compression of vasculature, and increase in heartburn, excuse me. I've read a few small studies, but not enough. There weren't enough people enrolled in those studies to say, yes, this is the cause of this, and sleeping on this side is better than the other. But let your comfort level drive you. But there is a lot of research on the spooning and the oxytocin production that love hormone.
Yeah, Sandra Lewis is saying, Dr. Rhonda, thank you so much. Very interesting topic. Derosa is saying, a good prayer before sleep just gives peace of mind and a calmness to fall asleep. A good prayer, talking to your
I
Lord.
agree. I agree.
I know you would agree with that because you're a spiritual person also, Doc. Doc, this would be our final one. I've read that poor sleep can link to higher body weight. How true that is?
Yes, that's what. Yes, and we mentioned that before when you asked your question about the signs of not getting enough sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. It can lead to weight gain. It definitely can, because and that goes back to when I was talking all about the things that happen when we sleep and uninterrupted sleep, all of the reactions that are taking place for us to be healthy, all of the cell regeneration and cell repair and cell growth and development that's taking place at that time when we sleep. So if you're not sleeping enough hours and you're not getting through all the different stages of sleep, because we didn't even have the time to go through all the different stages of sleep and what happens in there. But if you're not progressing through those stages naturally, then all those reactions that must take place for us to regenerate our body and
Mm-hmm.
repair the body and stay in a state of health, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Doc, before we go into a short break and our last comment, Linta Grey Powder is saying, Lord, I love you. And what came to my mind is our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made by God.
Yes.
We don't have to listen. Once we, all you're talking there, I'm just thinking about the goodness of God towards us.
So was I. And you heard me mention that before,
Yeah,
that
you did.
miraculous how our creator, our living God made this body. But what happens is he made it that way, but we still have to give it the tools to function.
Hmm.
And if
We
we
have to
don't,
take care of it, right?
yes, if we don't give it the tools and give it the building blocks for those miraculous things to continue to happen the way that he intended, that's where disease sets in.
Hmm. Doc,
Yeah.
liken this. Oh, the thoughts are just flowing. Now we gotta close, but liken this to a human being. My aunt gave us, I should say, a plant a few weeks ago. It's a pimento plant, right? And we put it in a big flower pot. It's out there on the balcony.
Sorry, I didn't hear what kind of
A
plant?
pimento,
Pimento.
yeah,
Okay.
plant, right? She gave us that a couple of weeks ago, and we bought a big pot and we put that plant in that pot and put it out in the porch. And I water the plant ever so often, and every day we are seeing changes in the plant. You see, it's growing, it's developing, it's developing, and it makes us to remember how God made us, and if God is taking care of these plants, what about us?
Hmm.
So once we
Well,
treat these temples right, these bodies would function, repair itself according to what you're saying early on. We just gotta treat these bodies right, and everything would be all right.
yes.
Doc, I just want to take a short break here for commercial, and we come back for closing comments from you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Move for Change Ministries, and you can watch us on our YouTube channel. Tune in on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., Sunday nights at 8 p.m., Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and Friday nights at 8 p.m. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified when we are live.
Well, folks, we want to thank Dr. Rhonda for joining us tonight. She's on every third Sunday at 8 p.m. And we are very happy to have her on this platform tonight. Dr. Rhonda, we thank you so much. You know, it was a blessing. I know that many people out there, they were blessed by your information, your valuable information that you shared with the world this evening. We are looking forward for the next third Sunday in October to have you on with us. What's your final comments, Doc?
Well, I want to thank you so much for this platform, and thank you so much for devoting this amount of time to just the health, just to make sure that we stay healthy, because we know that we want the Holy Spirit to dwell in a physical temple, a
Yes.
physical body that is 100% healthy. It can't function as well as it would in a body that's breaking down. And, it's a process. I want everyone to understand that this is a process. I am not perfect. None of us are perfect. We all have our little idiosyncrasies.
Mhm.
We all have our, but each day that we get up and God gives us that life, that breath, and we get up in the morning and we say,
Thank you, Jesus.
Each day, that's another chance to get it right.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get it right today, there were certain things that you needed to do to stay healthy. And I'm talking healthy in the holistic sense of the word, right? Not just the physical, but the spiritual, the emotional, the psychological, the social. If you know that there were points that we didn't get right today in any one of those areas, don't beat up on yourself. Don't be down about it. Tomorrow is another day to get it right. And it's just a wonder, and we're so grateful, and I have to express this sense of gratitude for programs like this that gives us the reminder that we can always have hope, because we're living in a time where so many people are just depressed, they're anxious, they're nervous, they're worrying about
what next
things we can't change. But here, your platform gives us an opportunity to explore the things that we can change, that we do have control over, and go ahead and change that and leave the rest up to Him.
Up to God.
So those are my closing remarks. Don't give up on yourself. And like I said, it's just a pleasure for me to be here with all of you. I love you. Keep the questions coming. I just love the questions in the chat. And, it's just an amazing opportunity. I want to wish everyone an enjoyable rest of their Sunday, Self-Care Sunday.
Yes.
And a great week ahead.
Well, Doc, thank you again for staying this time. I think we actually run over about an hour, close to 2 hours on this program. Thank you so much for the information that you just released to us, to the world, and I know that somebody would be benefit from this information, and we are looking forward for us to be back at this platform again next third Sunday in October. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. God bless you and your family. Thank you so much. Kareem, I must let you know, I don't have the song on hand, so we play that on our next broadcast. Doc, thank you so much. God bless you and have a wonderful time. Listen, folks, please share this broadcast with everyone. Do not keep this information to yourself. Share it. Doc, I'm sure you would say the same thing.
Yes.
Please share this information to everyone. So have a good night. We love you, and God loves you best.
To help this ministry reach others, you can donate to us at www.moveforchangeministries.com or www.moveforchangeministries.org. For those of you in Canada, you may donate via e-transfer to Move for Change Ministries at gmail.com. For those of you in the United States, you can transfer funds through Zelle with the phone number 347-898-9398 or the email moveforchangeministries@gmail.com. You can also give us a call at 647-784-3681. We thank you for your support.